Warriors, I need you to listen closely. I stood beside a man who gave everything to everyone. He poured his soul into friendships that forgot his name. He forgave betrayals that deserved punishment. He sacrificed his sanity believing goodness would eventually be recognized. 3 years passed. When I saw him again, something had shifted. The warmth was gone. The forgiveness had vanished. He had become cold, calculated, and completely in control. He looked me in the eye and said something that rewired my entire understanding of power. He said, "I didn't wait for the world to respect me. I forced it to by becoming someone it couldn't ignore." That sentence carved itself into my mind because I realized it wasn't just about him. It was about me. And it's about you too. You are living between two identities right now. The first identity is the one you've been trained to accept. The people pleaser, the explainer. The one who bends, apologizes, tolerates disrespect, and keeps waiting for others to finally see your value. You stretch yourself across broken bridges hoping someone will meet you halfway. But they never do. The more accessible you are, the less they treasure you. The more you give without boundaries, the more invisible you become. Then there's the second identity, the one buried beneath years of conditioning, the silent operator, the unmoved force, the version of you that doesn't argue with fools, doesn't chase what's already gone, and doesn't waste energy proving worth to the blind. This version removes people without drama, cuts ties without guilt, moves forward without looking back. You've been living as the first identity for too long, and it's draining the life out of you. It's made you vulnerable where you should be fortified, generous where you should be selective. Machiavelli once declared, "It is far safer to be feared than loved when one of the two must be lacking." He wasn't promoting brutality. He was teaching you about respect, about the psychology of control, about refusing to break for people who would never protect you. Today, you will learn how to awaken the second identity, the ruthless one, the Machiavellian one, the one people feel in their bones but can never manipulate. There are 8 transformations that separate these two versions of you. Each transformation will demand that you sacrifice a piece of your former self. Each one will feel like burning down the person you used to be. But if you absorb every word until the final second, you will emerge as someone your old self wouldn't recognize. You'll stop begging for peace and start commanding it. You'll understand the power of being psychologically untouchable. This world destroys the weak, and it bows to the ruthless. Before we begin, I want you to commit. Drop this in the comments right now. I will not break again. The first step toward ruthlessness is understanding this brutal truth. Your greatest flaw was never having a heart. It was giving that heart to people who devoured it without gratitude. You've been hemorrhaging energy into individuals who consume your light but never reciprocate. You kept showing up, kept forgiving, kept explaining yourself. You convinced yourself that eventually they'd recognize what you're worth. But they never will, and here's why. In the hidden mechanics of power, anything offered without resistance is automatically devalued. Human psychology equates easy generosity with desperation. When you give too freely, people assume you need their approval to feel whole, and the instant someone detects your need, they own you. That's not kindness destroying you. It's emotional dependence disguised as compassion. Machiavelli observed, men are less hesitant to offend someone who makes himself loved than one who makes himself feared. The ungrateful exploit your goodness precisely because they don't fear its absence. They know you'll return. They know you'll justify their cruelty with excuses like they're going through a hard time. That's not empathy. That's self-destruction. Here's the reality. People don't remember your kindness. They remember consequences. They don't respect your explanations. They respect boundaries enforced through action. The more predictable your mercy becomes, the more disposable you are. Every time you tolerated their disrespect, you trained them to see you as weak. Every time you explained why you deserve better, You confirm that you're still trying to prove it. This is the silent psychology behind why good people get destroyed first. The world doesn't crush you because you're kind. It crushes you because you confused being kind with being defenseless. The ungrateful are emotional predators. They don't attack your body, they attack your guilt. They weaponize your compassion and use it to keep you compliant. They make you feel selfish for protecting yourself. So stop believing you owe anyone your presence just because you once cared. Your attention is earned, not owed. Reserve it only for those who have demonstrated consistent respect. Everyone else should feel the weight of your absence. Detachment is defense. Indifference is revenge. Machiavelli warned men are ungrateful, anxious, deceitful, eager to avoid danger, and greedy for gain. He wasn't being pessimistic. He was arming you with knowledge. Never hand power to the ungrateful, because they will use it to weaken you. You must reprogram the belief that goodness will save you. Goodness without boundaries is a slow suicide. Ruthlessness is not cruelty. It's clarity. It's refusing to reward betrayal with access. When you stop answering their calls, stop justifying your distance, stop forgiving without consequence, the ungrateful panic. They realize they can no longer feed off your reactions. That's when the power dynamic shifts. You become the one who decides who gets your energy and who disappears into irrelevance. The world belongs to those who guard their energy like a weapon, not those who scatter it like charity. Every ounce of strength you pour into the wrong souls is power stolen from your future. Pull it back, rebuild it, weaponize it. Let them wonder where your warmth went. Let them realize it froze the moment you saw them clearly. Some people deserve your absence far more than your devotion. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My kindness has limits. Pain is the most honest teacher you will ever encounter. It doesn't flatter you. It doesn't soften the truth. It strips you naked and burns everything weak inside you until only the real you remains. The difference between those who are broken and those who are powerful isn't the amount of pain they endured. It's what they built with it. Weak minds drown in suffering because they keep searching for fairness. They still believe the universe owes them justice, but ruthless minds understand the real game. Pain is raw material. You either use it to forge yourself into something unbreakable, or you waste it complaining about how unfair life is. The ones who rise from ruin aren't lucky. They're strategic. They look at betrayal, rejection, and loss, and instead of asking, why is this happening to me, they ask, what is this teaching me about power? Machiavelli said, never waste the opportunity offered by a good crisis. Every moment of agony is a chance to evolve into someone no one can hurt again. Pain is not punishment, it's intelligence. It tells you exactly where your weaknesses live. Every betrayal reveals who you trusted too easily. Every rejection shows where you placed your worth. Every failure exposes the illusion of permanence. When you start interpreting pain through this lens, it stops being a wound and becomes a weapon. You stop using it to destroy yourself and start using it to sharpen your mind. The dark psychology of transformation lies in transmuting suffering into strategy. Most people cry to escape the pain. The powerful reflect to extract the lesson. When they're wounded, they don't chase closure. They create dominance. They study their enemies instead of hating them. They analyze their mistakes instead of running from them. They turn heartbreak into emotional armor and disappointment into relentless focus. That's the essence of Machiavellian resilience, using the world's cruelty as fuel instead of chains. Pain is the forge where dominance is born. When life shatters you, it's showing you who you really are beneath the mask. Stop fleeing from it. Sit inside it. Feel every degree of the fire. Because once you survive your own suffering, no one else can control you with fear. The moment you stop fearing pain, you become unpredictable, and unpredictability is power. When others try to manipulate you through guilt or rejection, it no longer works because you've already faced worse and walked out stronger. Machiavelli believed that a wise leader learns more from adversity than from prosperity. That's because pain activates awareness. It forces evolution. It silences delusion. You start seeing people for who they are, not who you wished they'd be. You start choosing logic over emotion. The more you endure, the less reactive you become. You move through the world like someone who's already been through hell and survived. That energy commands respect because it's dangerous. People sense it when you enter a room. The aura of someone who turned every wound into wisdom. You no longer carry scars with shame. You display them like trophies. Your silence becomes heavier, your stare more penetrating. That's when you know you've crossed over from being shaped by pain to shaping others through the lessons it taught you. The next time life hurts you, don't curse it, study it. Ask yourself what advantage is hidden here. Because every moment of agony carries a seed of power if you're ruthless enough to extract it. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My pain builds power. The craving to be understood is the chain that keeps brilliant minds trapped in mediocrity. You keep explaining yourself, hoping people will see your intentions, your heart, your truth. But here's the reality nobody tells you. Most people don't care to understand you. They care to categorize you. They don't listen to comprehend. They listen to find ammunition. The more you explain, the more information you hand them to use against you. In dark psychology, understanding equals control. When people know your motives, they know how to manipulate you. That's why the ruthless stay quiet. They let others guess, assume, project. And in that confusion, they remain untouchable. Machiavelli once said, "He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command. And to command, you must never over-explain. Explaining is a defensive posture. It reveals that you still seek approval. Power doesn't justify itself. It simply exists. The most intimidating individuals are the ones who never explain why they act, feel, or vanish. Their silence creates tension. That tension creates respect. The weak beg to be seen. The strong choose to be misunderstood. You must understand that when you stop defending yourself, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability is fear's sibling. People can't control what they can't decode. That's why rulers, generals, and strategists throughout history mastered the art of ambiguity. They spoke less than they knew. They acted more than they promised. You must learn to do the same. Every time you rush to explain your intentions, you're handing over the blueprint of your psyche. You're teaching others how to disarm you. The dangerous thing about transparency is that it invites dissection, and dissection always destroys the magic of power. Machiavelli wrote, "The wise man does immediately what the fool does eventually." The wise stop justifying themselves early. The fool keeps talking until he's completely exposed. You don't owe anyone clarity about your choices. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your distance, your silence, your standards, or your transformation. Let them misunderstand. Let them assume you've become cold, arrogant, detached. Every false label they attach to you adds another layer to your armor. The moment you stop trying to correct their perception, you regain control. Because control lives in restraint. Silence is not weakness. It's weaponized composure. It makes others nervous because they can't predict your next move. And uncertainty makes them cautious. That's psychological dominance. Think of the most powerful people you've ever encountered. They weren't loud. They were composed. Their presence demanded attention not because they shouted, but because they didn't need to. Every word they didn't say spoke louder than 1,000 justifications. You must become that kind of presence. A mystery no one can fully decode. A storm that doesn't announce itself. When someone tries to provoke you, let your silence suffocate their ego. When someone misjudges you, let them drown in their own assumptions. The truth is your weapon. Don't waste it proving your innocence to people who already decided to misunderstand you. Those who need to understand you don't deserve access. Those who truly value you will never need an explanation. Power is not about convincing others. It's about becoming so self-assured that their confusion no longer matters. Once you stop needing to be understood, you finally begin to understand yourself. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence speaks power. Chasing attention, love, or closure is how powerful people become slaves. The more you pursue what's walking away, the smaller you become in the eyes of those who never intended to value you. Detachment is not coldness, it's sovereignty. It's the ability to walk away from anything that threatens your self-respect, no matter how badly you wanted it. Most people confuse attachment with loyalty, but they are opposites. Loyalty is strength, attachment is addiction. The world has conditioned you to believe that fighting for people proves your care. But in dark psychology, the one who chases always loses power. The act of begging, whether for time, affection, or attention, broadcasts weakness, and weakness invites exploitation. Machiavelli once wrote, "The one who is not master of himself cannot become master of anything around him." When your emotions control you, you are easy to dominate. The ruthless detach not because they lack emotion, but because they refuse to be enslaved by it. When someone pulls away, they don't argue or explain, they observe. When someone disrespects them, they don't plead, they vanish. Silence becomes their sword. Absence becomes their message. In a world built on emotional manipulation, detachment is the ultimate rebellion. It terrifies manipulators because it kills their power source, your reaction. Once you stop reacting, you become unreadable. And when you're unreadable, you become feared. The secret weapon of the powerful is not rage, it's indifference. Indifference burns colder than hate and lasts longer than love. When people can no longer predict how you'll respond, they lose their grip on your mind. That's the moment your energy begins to shift. You stop being the one who waits and start being the one who decides. The ones who once ignored you start to notice your silence, because silence from a once reactive person is louder than any confrontation. Detachment gives you a strange kind of authority. The authority to walk away from chaos with your peace intact. Machiavelli believed that control over one's emotions was the foundation of every successful ruler, because those who cannot detach are doomed to be controlled by those who can. He said men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear. If you can master your attachment, you will control both. The ruthless understand that not everyone deserves access. Not every emotion deserves expression. And not every relationship deserves revival. You must learn to withdraw your energy without announcement, to close doors quietly, and to make your distance feel like punishment. That's psychological warfare in its most elegant form. The more you detach, the more power you reclaim. You begin to realize that peace is not found in connection. It's found in control. True strength is when you can love someone deeply, yet walk away the moment they threaten your self-respect. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care correctly, about yourself first. Because when you stop begging, you stop bleeding. And when you stop bleeding, no one can feed on you again. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I choose peace over people. Boundaries are the invisible lines that separate power from chaos. Without them, your life becomes an open battlefield where anyone can enter, take what they want, and leave you hollow. You've been taught to believe that saying no is selfish, that setting limits makes you unkind. But in truth, the absence of boundaries is self-betrayal. Every time you tolerate disrespect, every time you forgive without consequence, every time you let people cross lines just to keep the peace, you surrender pieces of yourself. Weak individuals confuse tolerance with strength. The ruthless know better. They understand that a heart without armor is a target. Machiavelli once wrote, "A prince who is not wise himself will never be well advised." What he meant was simple. If you cannot guard yourself, no one else will. The world doesn't honor openness. It exploits it. The ones who smile at your kindness today will abuse your forgiveness tomorrow. That's the nature of unchecked human desire. People always test the limits you refuse to enforce. Boundaries are not walls to keep others out. They are gates that protect what's sacred inside you. They are not cruelty, they are clarity. And clarity terrifies manipulators because it removes their leverage. In dark psychology, boundaries are instruments of control. The person who enforces them dictates the terms of every relationship. When you calmly say no without guilt, you communicate dominance. When you cut off access after betrayal, you announce that your worth is non-negotiable. The powerful don't argue about respect. They demonstrate it through distance. Forgiveness without consequences is submission. Mercy without structure invites chaos. The moment you stop rewarding bad behavior with your presence, you begin to command silence from those who once disrespected you. The fearful will call it arrogance. The weak will label it ego, but the wise will recognize it as self-command. Machiavelli also said, "He who allows himself to be deceived deserves to be deceived." You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. The moment you start protecting your space like a fortress, the parasites vanish, the noise fades, and your peace returns. That's when you finally see who values you for real. Those who respect your rules instead of resenting them. Boundaries attract quality and repel corruption. They filter the loyal from the opportunistic, the genuine from the manipulative. They make your presence feel earned, not available. To live without boundaries is to live without dignity. To live with them is to command your world with quiet authority. The ruthless know that kindness without defense invites destruction. So they build walls not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Because the goal isn't to be liked, it's to be respected. Remember, every boundary you set is a declaration. This is where my peace begins. And those who truly value you will never ask you to lower your armor. They'll stand outside it with honor. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My boundaries protect me. Silence is the weapon the powerful deploy when words lose their worth. Most people fear silence because it exposes their lack of control. They talk to fill the void, to prove their confidence, to seek validation through noise. But every unnecessary word you speak becomes ammunition for someone else's manipulation. The wise understand that in a world addicted to talking, silence is dominance. Machiavelli once wrote, "Never reveal all of your thoughts, for they will be used to predict and exploit you." The moment people can read your emotions, they can calculate your reactions, and the one who can predict you can control you. Silence makes you unreadable. It builds an atmosphere of mystery that forces others to second-guess themselves. The quiet individual in the room always holds more power than the one shouting for attention. In dark psychology, silence is not emptiness. It's strategy. It shifts the balance of control without confrontation. When you say nothing, you let others reveal everything. They expose their insecurities, motives, and weaknesses while trying to understand you. The ruthless use this to their advantage. They listen more than they speak, observe more than they explain, act more than they promise. The weak rush to prove their point. The strong wait for the perfect moment to strike. Every pause you hold in a conversation increases your authority. Every time you let others fill the silence, they unknowingly surrender information. Machiavelli believed that power thrives in perception. The less people know about your intentions, the more they fear them. Silence creates psychological tension. It makes others project their fears onto you. They start wondering what you're thinking, what you might do next, and that uncertainty gives you invisible control. This is why silence isn't absence. It's presence magnified. You don't need to shout to be heard. Your restraint speaks louder than chaos. The loudest person rarely holds power. They crave it. But the silent one already possesses it. The rulers of history understood this truth. The less you reveal, the more they imagine. The more they imagine, the more they obey. You must learn to weaponize your calm, to use silence as your language. When someone insults you, stay silent and watch them unravel in their own guilt. When someone provokes you, give no reaction and let their desperation expose them. Your silence will echo louder than any argument. People expect noise. They fear stillness. In stillness lies control. Machiavelli said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." The fool defends himself with words. The wise guard himself with quiet. The moment you stop explaining, you shift from emotional to strategic. You stop playing defense and start commanding the game. Power doesn't beg to be understood. It demands to be felt. Silence makes you unpredictable, and unpredictability breeds respect. When you learn to hold your tongue, you learn to hold your power. And in a world where everyone wants to be heard, the one who masters silence becomes impossible to defeat. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence controls chaos. Loyalty is a weapon only when it's selective. The moment you give it blindly, it becomes your prison. Machiavelli warned that men are ungrateful, fickle, and deceitful, so to expect pure loyalty in return is to invite betrayal. Power belongs to those who know when to align and when to withdraw. The world is not moved by goodness, it is moved by strategy. When you show absolute loyalty to anyone, a friend, a mentor, a leader, you surrender your independence. They start to view your devotion as weakness, not virtue. The loyal are predictable, and predictability is death in the game of power. Dark psychology teaches that loyalty must be a calculated act, never an emotional one. True Machiavellian loyalty is conditional. It serves your growth, your protection, your rise. Once it stops serving those, it must be re-evaluated. Most people remain loyal out of fear. Fear of being alone, fear of being labeled untrustworthy, fear of losing approval. But these are the same people who end up discarded, betrayed, or replaced when they are no longer useful. The powerful never attach themselves to the person. They attach to the opportunity. They know alliances shift like tides. They don't resist it. They ride it. Your loyalty should be a mask, not your identity. You wear it when it benefits you. You remove it when it becomes a liability. This is not cruelty, it's realism. The world rewards those who think, not those who feel. Machiavelli wrote, "A wise man ought never to depend wholly on one thing or one person. Dependence kills autonomy, and autonomy is the root of dominance. Never reveal where your true allegiance lies. Let people believe you're on their side, but remain free internally. The illusion of loyalty is far more powerful than loyalty itself. It keeps others comfortable while keeping you untouchable." In politics, business, and personal life, this is how empires are built. Kings fall because they trust too deeply. Subordinates are eliminated because they serve too faithfully. Friends turn enemies because they expect equality where hierarchy rules. When you are too loyal, people stop respecting you. They test your boundaries, they exploit your devotion, and they stop fearing your withdrawal. Fear maintains order. When people know you can walk away without hesitation, they treat your loyalty as a privilege, not a guarantee. That's how you command respect. You must learn to give loyalty like a sword. Sharp, deliberate, and only when it cuts in your favor. Never give it like a gift. Gifts are forgotten, but weapons are remembered. This mindset makes you unpredictable, which is the ultimate psychological advantage. They can't manipulate someone they can't define. And that's the essence of Machiavellian power, to remain a mystery in plain sight, loyal in appearance, but sovereign in reality. The modern world will call this cold or heartless, but those are the words of the powerless, the same ones who worship those who betrayed them. Remember this truth. Loyalty without strategy is self-betrayal. You owe nothing to anyone who would not bleed for your survival. Your allegiance must always belong to your purpose, not to the people who come and go along the way. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My loyalty serves my purpose. Becoming untouchable is the final evolution of power. It is the point where no insult, betrayal, or manipulation can penetrate your armor. This state isn't about cruelty or arrogance. It's about complete sovereignty over yourself. The world will always throw chaos at you. People will always test your patience, and circumstances will never bend to your desires. The weak break, The fearful react, and the unprepared crumble, but the untouchable, they move like shadows over the battlefield. Unaffected, unshaken, unwound. Machiavelli once wrote, "He who is wise will be master of himself, for he who is mastered by others is never free." True freedom comes from inner mastery. To become untouchable, you must stop chasing love, approval, and validation. These are illusions, traps that keep you tethered to other people's whims. The world does not reward kindness, nor does it honor virtue. It respects power, self-possession, and relentless clarity. When you stop relying on others to feed your ego, you start to reclaim your energy. That energy becomes a fortress, shielding you from manipulation, deceit, and distraction. The untouchable build themselves deliberately. They invest in skills, discipline, and strategy rather than approval. They cultivate patience, presence, and quiet confidence. Their reputation is not earned by noise, but by consistency and invisible authority. Dark psychology reveals that people fear what they cannot control. Once you detach from expectation, from reaction, from the need to be understood or loved, you become a psychological enigma. No one can predict your moves. No one can pull strings on your mind. You've removed the levers. The untouchable do not act out of emotion. They act from strategy. Anger is measured, fear is irrelevant, and desire is disciplined. Every reaction is intentional. Every silence is meaningful. You become the axis around which chaos spins, unmoved by the storms that collapse others. Machiavelli said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." Being feared isn't about terror. It's about presence, control, and the awareness that crossing you has a cost. Untouchability is the ability to make people hesitate before testing you. It is the quiet declaration that you are no longer accessible for exploitation. No betrayal, no insult, no manipulation can unsettle you because you are complete within yourself. You are no longer a reflection of others' opinions. You are the sum of your own strategy and willpower. To reach this stage, you must shed the last remnants of dependence. The need to justify, the need to forgive, the need to be recognized. You must rise above attachment, resentment, and longing. The untouchable do not flinch because they understand the impermanence of external validation. They are anchored to themselves, and that anchor cannot be uprooted by circumstance. When you reach this level, power becomes effortless. People sense it instinctively. They either respect it or fear it, but they cannot ignore it. You are no longer a participant in the manipulations of others. You are the standard by which influence and control are measured. You move through the world untouchable because you have mastered the only thing that ever mattered: yourself. Drop this affirmation in the comments. Nothing can break me. The world will try to break you. It will test your patience, betray your trust, and punish your kindness. It will show you that fairness is a myth, that people are unpredictable, and that the only thing you can truly rely on is yourself. For too long, you've allowed others to dictate your peace. You've given your energy to the unworthy, begged for understanding, and let attachment chain you to disappointment. But that ends today. You now have the blueprint to become someone no one can manipulate, no one can exploit, no one can touch. You've learned to stop giving to the parasites. You've turned your pain into power. You've killed the need to be understood, detached from what drains you, and fortified yourself with unbreakable boundaries. You've mastered silence, commanded respect through calm, wielded loyalty strategically, and evolved into someone untouchable. None of this is luck. None of it is easy, but every step you take in this direction strips the world of its leverage over you. Machiavelli once said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." Today, you are choosing wisdom. You are choosing control. You are choosing ruthlessness in the most disciplined, silent, and powerful sense. This is the version of you that the world cannot bend, cannot manipulate, and cannot break. The road ahead will not be simple. There will be challenges. But every trial now becomes a tool. Every betrayal becomes a lesson. Every obstacle becomes an opportunity to demonstrate that you are no longer available for exploitation. The untouchable are forged in fire, sharpened by strategy, and protected by self-mastery. Stand firm in this truth. Walk through life with clarity and composure. Become the person who moves without apology, who commands without announcement, who rises without permission. And as you take this path, remember, the world will notice the difference, but only after you are untouchable. If you found value in this guide, make sure to hit the like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to the channel for more strategies that make you stronger, smarter, and impossible to break. You are no longer the version that bends. You are the version that rules. Drop this final affirmation in the comments. I am untouchable now.